the biggest thing is just don't get distracted. Focus on the right things in life. This life is so full of things that will take you off your path, or that will eat up your time. You have to protect your time and not get distracted by all the bright, shiny things in life. And it may even be some bright, shiny people. Don't even get distracted by some bright, shiny people that you think you need in your life. Stay focused on what you want to achieve in life, and to the best of your ability, block out distractions. But that also means that allow yourself time, for fun, to hang out, and just to maybe to focus on nothing, but have and protect your time so that you can achieve your dreams.
Welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast. In this podcast, you will experience wisdom, advice, and stories from creatives all over the world. Your host is Amani Roberts, who is a DJ, music producer, professor, avid book reader, and developing salsa dancer. On the show, we love to share the stories of creative professionals, especially people who've gone from the corporate life to the creative life. Once again, welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Amani Experience Podcast. We have Glen Guyton with us today. And I think the thing that I like the most about the interview with Glen is he drops several kernels of wisdom with us. One of my favorites is the story he told about when he was a cadet and his roommate and how he didn't treat his roommate well. And I think that story is really, really powerful. So take a listen to that. Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to subscribe and give us a rating on iTunes. And to the show we go. Thank you. Welcome back to the show. I want to introduce today's guest. I'll read a little bit of his bio. Our guest today works with organizations that want to improve productivity and profits through innovative leadership techniques and building cultural competence. Our guest today also works with individuals trying to make sense of the culture in which they live. Culture and context always matter when you're a Fortune 500 company or a 15-year-old trying to earn a fortune. I'm going to share a little bit more information as well. Our guest today currently serves as the COO for the Mennonite Church USA, managing the day-to-day operations and finances. He also leads the national convention planning process for the denomination. He's a member of the National Speakers Association and is a certified project management professional. As an ordained minister, our guest has over 20 years of experience working with youth and children's ministry at both the congregational and denominational level. Before working in youth ministry, our guest was a certified middle school teacher. He has a Bachelor of Science in Management and a Master's of Education. I would like to welcome Glen Guyton to our show. Welcome to the Amani Experience Podcast.
Hey, Amani, how's it going? It's wonderful to be part of your experience this morning.
Thank you. Nice play on words. Appreciate that. So we like to do a little geographic check-in for all my guests.
All
so
right.
You right now, you are based and living in San Antonio, Texas, correct?
That's right. No better place to be from than Texas.
They say everything is bigger in Texas.
That's right. Even the egos.
Yes. I've experienced that as well. So where are you originally from? Where are you born and raised?
I'm actually from Houston, Texas, which is just, like 3 hours down the road. But I left home and went to college and, joined the Air Force and lived in Colorado Springs for 5 years and then moved to the East Coast and was in Virginia for about 17 years.
Oh, nice. And that was the Hampton, Virginia, right? The Hampton, Newport News area?
Yeah, the Hampton Roads area. So I kind of moved around in there, but I was there for 17 years.
Okay. So I lived in Dallas, Texas for about a year and a half. So I have some experience in Texas. So you've lived in Colorado, Hampton, kind of Newport News area,
yeah.
and then San Antonio. Anywhere else?
I lived in Iceland for 6 months. I don't know if that counts.
That definitely counts. Tell us about Iceland. Wow.
Iceland is actually a nice place in the summertime. It's kind of up there close to the Arctic. So in the summertime, you get, a lot of daylight, like 20 hours of daylight. So the summertime is really nice. Now, in the wintertime, you go into the dark ages, it gets cold, and you get the reverse. You get like 20 hours of darkness, or kind of like twilight. But it's not a bad place. It's a nice little island. They have a lot of natural springs. And one thing I tell people, if you go to Iceland, get yourself a hot dog and some ice cream, because those two things are really good in Iceland.
Oh, okay. Good tip. Yeah. Why were you there for 6 months?
I was in the military. Yeah. So I was an officer in the Air Force, and I got stationed there. It was kind of a remote before I got out, away from my family. So it was a nice time, but kind of missed my family. My daughter was born while I was over in Iceland. So, I was trying to hurry up and get back to Virginia.
Okay, cool. Now on our show, our intention is we really love to share the story of people who kind of used to work in corporate America and then went out and pursued their creative ventures. You've done a lot of that, and you've made several career changes. Can you talk to us kind of about how, when you first got out of college, tell us where you went to school, and then it's a quick little timeline of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, wow, man, I don't know if I have a quick story of how I got to where I am today, but it's probably a weird story. I have done a lot of things, and I used to wonder when my dad, growing up, used to tell me like all the different jobs and things that he had. I was like, man, that's really strange. And now I see myself in that same situation. But I went to the United States Air Force Academy. So that's where I went to college and graduated and became an officer in the United States Air Force. And, I did that for 5 years, but just felt like I wanted to do something different, really make a difference in people's lives. That's how I got involved in ministry, and primarily youth ministry. So I got out of the Air Force, got into ministry. Nothing that I had initially predicted I would be in, but just sharing with people, helping people transform their lives was something that attracted me. I felt like I could make a bigger difference working with youth and young adults than I could sitting at my desk in the Air Force. And so I had the opportunity, got out of the Air Force, and then I spent another 12 years doing youth ministry, doing leadership in ministry right there in Virginia. Then eventually, I turned 40, decided I need to make another change. An opportunity came to help racial ethnic churches with this group of people called the Mennonites. Started working with them, and that's kind of where I landed now. And eventually, as you go through life, you kind of get restless from time to time, or you say to yourself, how can I better utilize the gifts that I have? And that's kind of what led me to move in more of a direction of professional speaking and consulting.
Okay. And how long have you been a professional speaker and consultant?
I would say, let's say 2015 is when I moved into the professional realm of it. I've been speaking in different places for a number of years, while I was in the Air Force, while I was in ministry, of course, speaking at different places. But, I just didn't realize that it could be a profession or that I could do it at this level, to really get paid for it, to really find my niche in speaking and offer that as a service to people. I was just kind of doing it because I liked doing it. I thought it was fun, and just always enjoyed sharing with people. But basically in 2015, I met a friend of mine named Crystal Washington, who's also a professional speaker. Part of my role that I do with the denomination I work for is that I'm an event planner. That's just one of the things that I do. So I plan citywide events, and I often hire speakers. And I was watching a friend of mine named Crystal Washington. You can look her up, but she was doing a workshop about speaking and how she got involved in it and her passion for it. I'm like, man, that's it. You've just captured the thing that that's been inside of me all along. I just couldn't articulate it. And then I saw this young woman articulate it in such a way. I said, that's what I've really been seeking to do all along. I just didn't realize that I could do it at a professional level. I didn't realize I could do it with the capacity to support my family that, I saw this young lady, Crystal, doing it. I say, she has it. I need to go talk to this young lady.
Nice, nice. Crystal's been a guest on the show, so that's how we were introduced to you. So yeah, she's a great speaker. I've heard, I've had a chance to interview her, and I've heard about her from other people, so that's good. When did you realize that, okay, I can really do this professional speaking as a career, and this is legitimate, and I'm going to take this as far as it'll take me? When was kind of the turning point?
Well, I think it was when I met Crystal at this conference, because I was a little restless about what was next in my life. What's the next step for me? What am I going to do after I finish working in finance, after I finish planning events for something else? What was the next phase of my life? And I just didn't know. Sometimes it was hard for me to see what the next step was. And meeting Crystal in 2015 helped me to see that, helped me to clarify my vision. It was kind of like a crystallization moment for me. Oh, yeah, that's funny, huh? Right? Her name's Crystal, and it was a crystallization moment when I met her. And so that was it, because, even when I was in high school, people would invite me to places to speak. And, and I would just go for the applause. I used to do the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. That was kind of my speech that I used on the circuit. So people would invite me to different schools and different places. And I never thought that as a high school student, I could make money doing this, or that I could support my family doing this, that it was a business. It was just something I did.
Nice. Okay. So I'm wondering, what was the transition like from being an educator, because you taught in middle school, to then being a professional speaker? Talk to us about that transition.
Yeah, it's a scripture in the Bible that says that your gift will make room for you. So sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you may have certain gifts and certain abilities. What I really wanted to do that I thought my passion was being a chef. That's what I wanted to do, right? Once I got out of the military, I was going to be a chef and own my own restaurant. I actually, worked in a couple of restaurants just to kind of try it out to see if that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I would encourage, if there's some young people listening to this, or people that are trying to figure out what's next. All of us don't have this instant crystallization of, hey, this is what I want to do. Sometimes we have to learn by trial and error. So, I tried a couple of different things, and, I was teaching, and I don't know if you've ever taught in public school, but, sometimes you sit in the classroom and you're working with some of these students, and you're like, man, am I getting through to these students? Their parents don't care what's going on in their lives. They don't care what's going on in their lives. Why am I sitting here wasting my time? And so I got a call from the pastor of the church that I eventually worked for. And he was like, hey, I want you to come on board and help us do some fundraising and help us do some youth ministry. I said, okay, that's great. I'll do that. So I left the teaching profession and started working at the church. And eventually, I was probably better at youth ministry and developing programs for young adults than I was at the fundraising part. And it just kind of grew from there. The skills that you have eventually, I think, rise to the top. If you put in the time, if you put in the work, those gifts will just kind of start to emerge in your life. Okay.
Tell us, why do you love what you do?
Man, okay, so let me go back to the cooking analogy, because I love cooking, right? I was cooking last night. My daughter came home from college, so I was cooking up some food for her. But and I have a book that I'm writing for young people as you think about your gifts and try to figure out what it is that you want to do. But sometimes you think, like, I thought like the cooking thing was really what excited me, but it's really just a preparation, preparing to help people and creating an experience for them and then seeing them enjoy it. That's what I love about what I do, whether it's event planning, whether it's giving a speech at a school, doing workshops. You put a lot of time and energy and a lot of love into the preparation. You set the table for people, and then to see them get something out of it, or to see the light bulb click, you're like, okay, yes, I made a difference. I've had an impact on this person's life. They're going to be able to take what I I have given them, they're going to be able to do something with it. It's going to give them energy. It's going to inspire them. It's going to motivate them. That's what I love about what I do.
Yes, I can relate. I teach people how to DJ, and I have a similar feeling when I see DJ. People. That's right. When the light bulb goes off, that really fills me up, because that means, they're getting it and it's working. And I love that too. So I can relate.
All right. Okay, DJ. All right.
Now, sidebar, you said you like to cook. I always love anyone who says they like to cook. I always love to ask them, if you had to cook one meal and your life depended on it, what would you cook?
One meal in my life depended on it. Wow, man, that's... I would probably bake like a cake with silver white icing. I have this white cake that I make with silver white icing that uses you heat up some Karo syrup and egg whites and make it nice and fluffy. That's probably the thing that I would make. I would bake something, because what I like. I said, if my house caught on fire, I would grab my wife, my kids, and my KitchenAid stand mixer. Man, I love my KitchenAid stand mixer.
Okay, that's a great quote. I love that. You ready? All right. Yep. So if you feel motivated to share the recipe, I can add the recipe in the show notes as well, because that cake sounds pretty good. Especially
it is a good cake.
We're talking the day before Thanksgiving, 2017. So whip that up real quick for tomorrow.
All right. Yep, that's right.
All right. So then on the flip side, what is something that scares you?
What scares me? Man, I guess not being successful scares me. And it's not, I would make the distinction. I'm not afraid to fail. I will definitely try things and make mistakes. I even tell people, I say, hey, you don't have to learn how to fail well. It's important that you learn how to fail. But I think I'm more afraid of not succeeding. And what I mean by that is I'm afraid that I'm not going to give the time and energy that I need to be successful. I'm not going to try hard enough. I'm not going to be careful and methodical in my approach to accomplishing my dreams. That's what scares me the most.
And then how do you work through that so that you don't prevent the fear from becoming an actuality?
Yeah, you just got to keep pushing, right? You got to keep pressing through it. You got to keep pushing on and understand that you will have setbacks on your journey. One of the things I like to say is that life is, I didn't create this, but life is a journey. That's what it is. It's not like if you get too focused on the destination, then you miss all the things that are going on around you. It's like when you take a trip with your family. Like I'm often driving when we go places as a family, and everybody else is in the car sleep. And I'm like, man, you all are missing all of the exciting things that you see as you drive towards the destination. You don't get so caught up on the destination that you miss the little steps of life along the way. And so as I think about that final destination of what I think it means to be successful, I understand that's only one part of it, but I have to go step by step. And if at some parts of the journey, I get a little lazy, that's okay. When I wake up the next day, I got to work a little bit harder. I got to keep on until I actually achieve what I want to achieve. So that's kind of how I do. I just really just break it up and take each day and each step, one step at a time.
Good. Continue on this theme and topic of failure. A question I ask is, how has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours you can share with us?
Man, yeah, because I probably made a lot of mistakes, and
that's good though. That's taking you to where you are now.
Yeah. And you hope your mistakes aren't fatal, man. That's the thing is, some mistakes are hard to come back from, especially when it involves hurting people or things like that. But I think one of the things that has really transformed me was some of the mistakes I made when I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy. And those involved, mistreating people. It's just kind of getting caught up in the hype. And I was pretty successful as a freshman coming in, during basic training. I was like one of the outstanding basic cadets. I kind of had my stuff together as far as, shining my shoes and the discipline and knowing the stuff that you needed to know. But my roommate wasn't like that. Right? He was just all nervous. He could barely march. He was kind of nerdy. I think he was from Montana or something like that. And and I was really kind of full of myself at the time, and was talking about him. This is when the internet and email and stuff came out. I was sending negative emails out about him, that he was a piece of crap and he was this and he was that. And somehow the emails that I sent got printed out and sent to some of my superiors, some of the upperclassmen, and I got in trouble for it. But, it's not the fact that I got in trouble that helped. They helped me realize my mistake. But then, at some point I had to think, like, why did I allow myself to get caught up in the hype of what everybody else was saying about this guy? How did I let myself get so full of myself that I thought I was so much better than him? Instead of helping him, I decided to talk about him behind his back. I was sending out, nasty messages about this guy. And I was just like, that's not the kind of person I want to be. That's not going to help anybody by bad mouthing him. If I really cared about this guy, if I really was so great myself, I should have helped him. I should have walked alongside of him and help him to get up to the level that I thought I was at. And so that really had a profound impact, I think, on my life. And it was a failure of me treating somebody else like a human being, and also letting the voice of the crowd dictate my character.
Right. And then if you were placed in a similar situation today, how would you handle it now?
Oh, well, shoot. Hey, now, hey, look, I don't get involved in all of that hype, and it's easy nowadays, especially with like social media, just to easy jump on a bandwagon, to badmouth people, to attack people. So, I definitely don't do that now, because it's no need for group hate. Well, what's the purpose of it? What are you doing? It's no need to go and attack people. And the other part of it is, I found out the quickest way to achieve your dreams in life is to help somebody else achieve theirs.
Yes, sir.
It's just, if you really want to get something out of life, it's to sow into the lives of other people. And that's it. And, from that moment on, I've just learned to block out the crowd and not jump on the bandwagon of hate, which so many people want to do nowadays on social media and all these other platforms.
Right. Now, how did you learn that lesson of the quickest way to kind of help yourself and succeed is to help someone else? How did you learn that lesson? Because that's a tough lesson for people to learn.
Yeah, because people, help me. I've had some good mentors in my life, and, I've listened to some wise people, and they've helped me. And so I've seen how it worked in the lives of other people. And so I just decided to practice it in my own life. Then, of course, I'm a person of faith. So, you read scriptures and it tells you that also. And so that's just how I've tried to live my life, is to be generous, as you plant and sow into the lives of other people. I just believe that it's going to come back. I just have faith that it's going to come back to you.
All right. I agree. Thank you for sharing. Great story you shared. That's a great story. I think that story that you share actually hit home with a lot of people, because we've all been there, whether it be in the professional life, college, high school, now, like, how can you help someone instead of tearing them down even more? So Thank you for sharing.
All right.
Why don't you tell us about the darkest time in your life and how you got through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
The darkest time in my life, man. I don't know. Maybe the 30s.
I thought the 30s were the new 20s, but talk to us.
Especially, it's just, I think it depends on your life situation. But the 30s are, after you've been a kid, you go through your 20s, you're single, and it's kind of on your own. But then, like in your 30s, a lot of us get married and have families. That's a stressful time in your life. You're trying to figure out yourself, but at the same time, you have all these other people depending on you, your kids, your spouse depending on you. And, you really have to start this adulting thing. So you have to go from this place of just you dependent on you, or other people taking care of you, to you being the person that has to take care of other folks, and also other people depending on you. And I think it just can be overwhelming as you make that transition. And then it's just hard because it's just a lot going on in your life. You're starting your professional career, then also you're starting your family life. Maybe it's a little bit different if you are single, but you're growing up and then you're trying to help other folks grow up. So, I think that's a difficult phase of life. It's just one of those transitions. And so eventually, I think I just had to learn how to, for one thing, not take life so seriously, right? Not just let everything bother me. You just have to start letting things kind of roll off your back. And then the other thing is, as life throws things at you, as you get upset, I used to try to stay mad, right? I'm going to be mad at my wife. I'm going to be mad about this. You just set yourself a time limit. Let's say I'm going to be mad for an hour today. Then after you're mad for that hour, then okay, now I got to go ahead and do what I need to do. Or, my kid's taking up all my time. I can't do what I need to do. I say, okay, I'm going to be mad for 15 minutes. Then after I'm mad for 15 minutes, get over myself being selfish because I can't do everything I want to do. Then you go on and you do the things that you need to do because this is part of your life now. This is part of your story now. I think, we get depressed when we spend too much time focusing on ourselves, focusing on what we can't have. And then we just dwell on it. So set yourself a time limit and be mad for that time limit and then keep it moving.
Good advice. How do you, as your career has ascended, continuing through different jobs and different professions, and even currently, how do you handle your critics?
Oh, my critics. I don't even pay attention to them because I learned a long time ago, if I'm gonna make a mistake or something's gonna go wrong, then it's gonna go wrong because that's my decision. I ain't gonna make a mistake based on something you told me to do. Now, I listen to good advice. I listen to wise counsel. I listen to constructive criticism. But at the end of the day, I'm going to own the decision. And so if I fail at something, then I know that I've owned it. So you can criticize me all you want. But unless you have the same accountability that I have, unless you're going to suffer the consequences of whatever the decision is, I'm not going to really worry about what you have to say too much. I do. I pay attention to wisdom and lessons learned from other people. But if you just randomly talking and you're not invested in the same way that I'm invested, why is it going to bother me that you criticizing me?
Yeah. All right. Preach.
But hey, look, I work, especially as doing the event planning. I plan these citywide conventions. I could have 6,000 people at an event. I've had people mad at me because they booked their plane tickets on the wrong day. I had people mad at me because they didn't like the schedule. They said they couldn't, get something to eat at a certain time. I'm thinking like, you a grown individual. If you want to get up out of the meeting and go get you some McDonald's or get you something to eat, why do you feel like I need to give you permission? Why are you criticizing me? The problem is that you're not taking ownership of your own life. So, after a while, some of the criticism, especially when you get so much of it, just gets humorous at times. Right. Yeah.
Cool. Who was the most influential person for you growing up?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I have a lot of people that kind of shape me. I don't know if I have just one, but I will say
you can share.
Okay, a couple. I'll share a couple. Okay, I'm gonna give you 3. All
right.
All right. So the first one I would say is my mom. She just gave me a good foundation. My dad died when I was 14 years old, but my mom gave me a good foundation. Was just there, steady for me. Took me to church. Took me to a lot of places. Just helped me experience a lot of things in my life. So I'm definitely thankful for her and the things that she did, and just to show me how to be a good parent and love my kids. I get that from my mom. I had a teacher in high school named Mr. Addison, who was just one of those teachers that I think impacted a lot of people. He actually was influential and helped me make the decision to get into the Air Force Academy. He knew I needed the discipline that came with the Air Force Academy. I was in the choir for 3 years. in high school. And it was just such a wonderful experience. I just learned so much from him about being a man and being mature. Then the other person was Martin Luther King. You know, some people say I look a little bit like Martin Luther King, and you know, his speeches, you know, inspired me just to strive for greatness and to do my best, and just to see how he transformed our nation was just very powerful. And like I said, his I Have a Dream speech was one of the first speeches that I kind of took on the road that helped me be confident speaking in front of crowds.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Three great examples. Cool.
Yeah.
Who, now that you're a professional speaker, who are some of your favorite professional speakers that you like to follow?
Speakers that I like to follow. Who do I like to follow? Now that's a hard question for me, because I like, because I really like comedians. Okay. You know, that's like speakers that are comedic speakers. It's one lady that I met at the National Speaker Association was Jeanne Robertson, and she's a humorist. She's an older woman. She's probably in her 70s, and she tells stories about her life. And I used to listen to her on the radio all of the time. So she was one of my favorite speakers that I got to see in real life. Of course, Crystal Washington. I like Crystal because, she's a mentor to me, and I just like to see her work, and her professionalism has really inspired me. But, I kind of grew up on comedy, and, I sometimes I wish I was maybe I should be a comedian, but I don't know. Yeah, comedy. So that's kind of, I love comedy. I follow just a lot of comedians. Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock is kind of what I grew up with, and just had all of their routines memorized. Okay. All right. So back in the day, were you a fan of the original Def Comedy Jam? Yeah. And that kind of came, I was probably in college, I think, when Def Comedy Jam came, because that was like in the 90s, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, early to mid 90s. Yeah, it was fun. Bernie Mac and some of those guys. Yeah. All right. I love a good comedian as well. So, yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah. If we could go back and sit down with 21-year-old you, 21-year-old Glenn, and share some advice, what advice would you share? All right. Well, first of all, I would tell him, I say, Glenn, set some goals. They always tell you that in order to achieve that, you need to write down your goals, write down your 5-year goals, your 10-year goals, or whatever. And I would say, hey, yes, do that, because it actually does work to write down those goals, to have a vision of where you want to go. And of course, those things may change over time. The other thing I would tell him is save some money. Don't spend all your money on boots and clothes and stereo equipment. and the other thing is, if there are any young people that are listening to this podcast, I would say work on your dreams before you have a lot of other obligations. At the point where I am now in my life, I have people depending on me, so I can't take as many risks as I would have taken or could have taken when I was, in my 20s, 21 years old, 25 years old. I have a certain standard of living that I'm accustomed to now. I didn't have that same standard of living when I was 21. So, the amount of risks that I can take now are a little bit different than I could have taken at 21. So I have to be a little bit more methodical. I have to move a little bit more slowly now at this phase of my life. I have to have a bigger cushion, in order to protect myself and protect my family. But when I was 21, I could have just opened up a can of Beanie Weenies and slept on somebody's couch and pursued my dreams. Right. Okay. Great advice. What is the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn? Well, Money, I'm still learning. I thought I would have had it. Yeah, I thought I would have had it all figured out by the time I was 48. I'll be 48 on the 26th of this month. So, congratulations! Happy early birthday! Yeah, thank you. So, a couple of days from when we recorded this, but I think the biggest thing is just don't get distracted. Focus on the right things in life. This life is so full of things that will take you off your path, or that will eat up your time. You have to protect your time and not get distracted by all the bright, shiny things in life. And it may even be some bright, shiny people. Don't even get distracted by some bright, shiny people that you think you need in your life. Stay focused on what you want to achieve in life, and to the best of your ability, block out distractions. But that also means that allow yourself time, for fun, to hang out, and just to maybe to focus on nothing, but have and protect your time so that you can achieve your dreams.
Any tips on maybe how you've been able to do that effectively as you've gotten older?
Yeah, you had to be a little selfish, and again, be selfish with a purpose, and sometimes you have to shut off the social media, take a little holiday from some of those things. Sometimes you have to kind of get away to be able to achieve what you need to achieve. When you have a family, part of the thing that you have to do is, make time for your family. So say, hey, I'm going to work in the morning, do these things. In the evening, I'm going to spend 2 hours of family time. That's kind of what you have to do. You have to start mapping out your day, write down the things that you that you want to achieve, and then take your life in. For me, it helps to have small little chunks. So you may not be able to devote 4 hours to your dream or to reaching your goals a day. But if you spend an hour a day or 30 minutes a day, eventually you're going to get there. So you have to be a little patient also as you are pursuing whatever goal that you have. You may not be able just to get it all done at one time. But if you spend a little bit of time each day, that's often better than, like when you're in college trying to cram for an exam. Right. That's what you learn in college, right? I'm a cram. I'm not going to study till the night before. I'm going to do this paper the night before. I can't do that now, man. I got too much stuff going on. I'm too busy. So I got to spend like 10 minutes every day, or when I'm riding somewhere in the car or on the plane. I work on an airplane. Okay, I can get 30 minutes doing emails on the plane. I can answer all my emails during that time. So I started breaking up my day and trying to really be more methodical about carving out my time.
Okay, great advice. Every great person has a sentence. So we want to know, what is your sentence? And I'll give you an example of mine. Mm-hmm. My sentence would be, I help people unlock their creativity by teaching them the art of DJing. What's your sentence?
What do I tell people? I said, I encourage people to live their lives, but not only that, to love the lives that they live. That's something I think that we have to get into our heads, is that too many of us are trying to live someone else's life. We see all the nice things on social media, Facebook, and we see all these pictures. Oh, I wish I could go to Paris. Oh, I wish I could eat at that restaurant. We're so busy being envious of other people's life that we don't enjoy our own lives. Enjoy the life that you have. Enjoy what God has given you. Enjoy the uniqueness of who you are, and be happy about that. Love that life. And then if you want to change and do something different, that's fine. But don't get so caught up on what other folks are doing, because you really don't know what they're doing. They're only sharing the best of their life, right? Like last night, I said I was cooking some things because my daughter was coming home from college. So, I showed everybody my nice sweet potato pie, my fresh baked bread. I was frying some chicken wings. Now, if I had burnt something, I'm not going to post that. Look, I burnt his food. I'm not going to show that. I'm showing you what looks good, what looks the best. I kind of posed the bread so to look really, really good when it came up on Instagram. I might use a filter on my collard greens so they look a little brighter than what they actually look like. But, so don't be envious of that stuff. Just say, okay, Glenn cooking up some good stuff, But, you cook whatever. If you like Kraft macaroni and cheese out of the box, hey, be happy about that. You may not, your macaroni and cheese might not be as good as mine, because mine's going to be nice. It's going to be homemade from scratch. I'm going to make me a little bechamel sauce and put my 3 different types of cheese. You don't have to do that. Be happy with your Kraft macaroni and cheese.
All right. You know, you talk about all this food. I'm going to hop on a flight to San Antonio. I'm ready for some sweet potato pie, some collard greens, and some mac and cheese. Once a year, I can do it. I might have to share a meal with you because, whoo, this sounds good.
Right. And look, you said that. That's right. And I don't do that every day, man. You know, that's what I'm posting on Facebook right now on the holidays. I'm off for a couple of days. But, you know, you come over my house during the week, you know, I might heat up something, you know, we might just have some rice and some chicken breast or something that I grilled. I'm not cooking all that stuff every day. I need to cook something quick so I can get about my business, you know?
Right. I always tell people and like to share people that social media is like every person's individual highlight film. You're not going to see the blunders, but you're going to see all the highlights. So have some perspective when you're scrolling through Instagram or looking on Facebook because it can drive you crazy.
Yes, sir.
The comparison trap is no joke.
That's right.
All right. What is one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or two that has been very beneficial for yourself?
Yeah, I'm trying to take a little bit better care of myself as far as my mental well-being as I've gotten busier. And, you know, so I'm really just trying to take like 15 minutes before I start work each day just to kind of meditate, just to, you know, take some deep breaths and just get myself focused for the rest of the day. I mean, I think that's very important. Some of us jump right into it or, you know, we start the day with just a lot of clutter in our minds. But you just have to, I think, take some time for yourself just to clear out your mind and get ready for what's going to go on for the rest of the day.
Okay. Now, on the Amani Experience podcast, we're really big fans of reading and books. Can you share 1, 2, or 3 books that you feel everyone should stop what they're doing right away, right now, and start to read the book immediately?
Well, if you haven't read The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, I would highly recommend that book. And also, this is not a book, but also after you read that book, if you watch 13th on Netflix, it kind of goes along with it. Michelle Alexander has a small part in that video. But I think, you know, with the things that are going on in our society, it's always a good idea to have a perspective of the things that have gone on to shape our nation. So that's a really good book to me is The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Yeah. All
right. Any other books pop to mind?
No, that's probably one of, you know, I like some autobiography. So I've read a lot of civil rights books. So, you know, the autobiography again of Martin Luther King is a good book. Again, to see that historical perspective, I really have enjoyed reading that.
Okay, good. Now, how can people find you online on social media? How can people reach out and get to know you more?
All right. Well, it's easy. All of my social media, my website is glenguyton.com. So go check it out. Social media, you know, Facebook, Instagram, what else is it? Twitter. All that is Glen Guyton. So just my name. It's easy to find me.
Perfect. And which platform do you spend the most time on?
Facebook and Instagram. I spend the most time on those two.
Okay, great. Yeah. Now we're almost done with the interview. Is there anything else that is fun or interesting you want to share, or maybe any questions that I failed to ask you that you want to kind of talk about real quick?
No, I think it was a good interview. You know, again, I'm hopefully I have this book that's coming out sometime next year called The Ideal Me. It's going to be a guidebook for students and those who support them. But some of the things I shared today on this podcast will be in that book, just encouraging people to pursue their call. You know, don't try to live someone else's life, but find out what your call is. You know, what are the things that are tugging at your life, and pursue those dreams. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing, but find out what your ideal life is.
Perfect. All right. That's some great advice in the show. We appreciate you being a guest. We will make sure to stay in touch and enjoy the rest of your week.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on this show.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Amani Experience podcast. You can check out the show notes on amaniexperience.com/podcast. Please remember to leave us a review on the platform you are listening on, and share this podcast with anyone who you feel would benefit from listening. See you soon on our next episode.